as opposed to a building with no windows and no doors. And then go for it. Look at corporate sponsors. Look at grants. If you know of any corporate sponsors, any grants, I would like to know about them because I see a community playhouse there where that building is right now.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wilford.
Alachua Chamber of Commerce. We have a built-in mechanism that could get something like this going quite well. The Alachua Chamber of Commerce is growing by leaps and bounds. I think if we, as the City Commission, could actually get them to take the leadership role in this, we could have all sorts of awards programs for people that fix their businesses up. We could have, things that would say that if you fix your house up, have a yard of the month. There's all sorts of things. You have I don't know if you have a garden club up here, but there are a lot of places that have garden clubs that go out and help people do their yards. Again, I'm big on volunteerism, and I think the Alachua Chamber of Commerce with other volunteers is certainly an untapped resource in doing that. And also, their job is to bring new business to this area. So we need to tap that as city commissioners as the main conduit to do our work for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is question number 15. I think all the candidates are doing a great job moving through these questions rapidly. I think it's about 7 minutes to 8. But question 15 is from the audience, and it first goes to Mr. Picard. The Hometown Democracy Amendment will be on the ballot for state voter consideration in the fall. What is your opinion of the local government no longer deciding on comp plan changes, but the local voters deciding? Is this amendment, if this amendment passes?
An amendment passed last year on the city of Alachua was about to vote our mayor in, and there was nobody contesting the mayor. So the citizens, maybe that was a good thing. Maybe the citizens felt the mayor was qualified with the person running. They didn't need nobody else to contest. But what happens here is you take the power out of the people that you vote in, and you say people who, in a little paragraph, hey, citizens, you're going to vote on this paper that probably is that thick when you look at it by a paragraph. It's not reasonable. You elect people for a reason. You believe in them, and if you support them, you like them, they do their job they're supposed to, they're going to make good, educated decisions. So my opinion and where I stand is I am against this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cannon.
I support this amendment. I don't think there's anything wrong with citizens having the power to make decisions about high impact developments that are going to affect their community and for them and their kids sometimes for generations to come. We're talking about large scale comprehensive plan amendments. We're not talking about micromanaging a city. We're talking about projects that could have an impact on the future of your community, and what this says is that the people should have a vote on them. And I think we've seen a lot of the Growth Management Act was a good thing, but it had a big loophole, was that twice a year you get to push through large-scale comprehensive plan amendments. And the idea was that there was going to be regulations in place that would make sure that the growth paid for itself and that it was responsibly done and all of that. I think sometimes we get away from that, and the people should have a way to weigh in on these high-impact developments that are going to affect the future of their community. So I support that amendment.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Perkins, you're next.
I think the citizens certainly should have a voice in decisions made for them, and I think the current method of doing such is to represent someone to speak for them. I think that's an effective way of dealing with issues, and I want to stipulate, though, that we as elected officials, if I become one, have to take into consideration, however, what it is the citizens want and vote accordingly.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wilford, you're next.
I'm generally for this plan because it also allows the city to opt out of certain things that the county may pass, at least the way I wrote it. I didn't write it. The way I read it, but I am still studying this thing very closely before I cast my vote, because I too believe that the city commission represents the people of the city of Alachua, and your voice is at the ballot box and at city commission meetings to contest what we do. And I really believe that I want to make sure that that's not taken away. But I do like the idea that if I'm reading it right, that it does allow the city a little more power to opt out some of the county decisions. And that can be a very powerful tool for us to exercise in the future. But I'm still studying. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Helling?
If that last part's true, I kind of like that part. But let me just
Turn yourself on.
turn this on. Oh. Just consider this. I believe in liberty. Okay, you can't have liberty without private property rights. That's all there is to it. Now, when something gets big enough that it affects the city, now the city has a right to come in there and say, well, wait a minute, we need to talk about this. I think that system is what we do now. And that's deliberative. If you go and put things on the ballot that people can be stirred up about and voted one way or another, I'm afraid it's too much the other way. It's taking people's private property rights away. And the other interesting thing is, I don't know if you know Rob Brinkman. Rob Brinkman, I think he was the Sierra Club guy. I heard him on the radio yesterday. He's actually against this amendment, but for different reasons. He thinks that it can be easily circumvented somehow.
Thanks, sir. Yep. Mr. Bakari, rebuttal.
This is like a mulligan in golf. I've got them. I got to use them, right? I got 3. I'm going to say this the best way I can. As I understand it, what you're doing is you're putting on the ballot an amendment that is going to be a paragraph or so long, which is going to consist of information that is too hard to comprehend, even myself to comprehend, and be able to vote on something that small. It takes the powers out of the hands of the legislators who can review, and it's their job, and they get paid to make decisions for the voters. And in doing so, I believe that's actually a disservice to the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to follow up on that? Okay. We will move on. Thank you. This next question is directed first to Mr. Helling. There are areas in the city that have been plagued by criminal activity. What would you do to curb those problems?
It falls into my first priority, doesn't it? Fire and safety. So the police do whatever they need to do to make that happen, and we try to make that money available for them to do that.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Perkins.
An educator, that we need to encourage faith-based initiatives and other organizations to educate our youth about making good choices, and take that on into our adults making good choices. And when they don't make good choices as adults, there needs to be stiff consequences.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wilford.
One of the things I'll do when I get elected would be to look at the actual areas that do have the highest crime, and then try to analyze with the police department and the commission what is actually going on in those neighborhoods. If it's simply a idea of patrolling more, then we need to do that. If it's an idea of having after-school programs to keep our youth involved, then we need to do that. I don't think there's any one panacea that's going to fix it, just one issue. I think we have to look at the whole issue